Revenge with Anjo.
The champagne flute slipped from Amara's fingers and shattered on the marble floor. Conversations at her brother's engagement party halted as crystal fragments glimmered under the golden lights. Laughter died. Music stopped. Her brother, Daniel, swayed slightly, drunk on both alcohol and attention. "Come on, Amara," he drawled. "Don't look so shocked. Everyone knows about the trust fund." The words hit her like a slap. "What trust fund?" she whispered. Daniel's grin widened. "The one Grandma Oluchi left for both of us. Mine helped with my business. Yours," he paused for dramatic effect, "was apparently wasted fixing that old house you love so much." The crowd murmured. The number echoed in her head. 85 million Nigerian nairas. Money she'd never seen. Money she was told didn't exist. Amara froze, her world spinning. For 15 years she had believed her parents when they told her grandma had removed her from the will out of disappointment. That lie had shaped her entire adult life. Daniel's fiancée, Vanessa, touched his arm. "Daniel, stop. You're embarrassing her." He shrugged, half laughing. "She should have been smarter. Some of us know how to stay in good graces." Amara's chest tightened. She excused herself, slipping into the quiet of the hallway. Her reflection in the mirror looked unfamiliar, a woman betrayed by her own blood. She whispered to herself, "They didn't just hide it, they stole it." At dawn, Amara sat alone in her small Lagos kitchen. Her hands trembled as she dialed a number she had found online the night before. "Ever watch Investigations?" A deep male voice answered. "My name is Amara Okafor," she said, steadying her breath. "I need help locating a will. My grandmother's." The investigator, Kelechi Duru, was calm and precise. "Send me what you know," he said. "If there's been theft, there'll be a trail." Over the following weeks, Amara's anxiety became a rhythm she learned to live with. Long days at her job as an interior designer and sleepless nights replaying her brother's words. 3 weeks later, Kelechi arrived at her apartment carrying a thin brown envelope. His eyes were sharp behind his glasses. "You were right," he said. He laid documents across her dining table, scanned wills, bank statements, transfer records. "Your grandmother left 85 million Nigerian nairas each to you and your brother. Your parents were trustees. Daniel received his at 25. Yours," he pointed at the trail of transactions, "was transferred directly into accounts under your father's name." Amara felt her stomach twist. "They told me Grandma disinherited me," she whispered. "They lied." Kelechi nodded slowly. "They didn't just lie. They laundered your inheritance." "How is that even possible?" Amara asked, voice trembling. "They were trustees," Kelechi explained. "Trustees can control disbursement. They simply falsified the records, reported yours as transferred, and redirected the funds." He handed her one final page. "And they've been claiming you as a dependent on their taxes for 6 years." Amara sank into her chair. "Tax fraud," she murmured. "Inheritance theft and tax fraud." The betrayal was complete. The people she had defended for years had built comfort off her stolen future. But as tears threatened, something inside her hardened. "If they use the law to steal from me," she said, "I'll use the law to take it back." Amara searched for the right lawyer, someone with a reputation for precision and zero fear. That's how she found barrister Zainab Musa, a woman known for dismantling family fraud cases across Nigeria. Their first meeting was in a minimalist office overlooking Victoria Island. Zainab read the files quietly before speaking. "Your parents and brother forged trust documents," she said. "That's not just unethical. It's criminal." She looked up, her tone sharp. "Are you ready for this fight? Because once we start, there's no going back." Amara nodded. "I lost too much already. I won't lose myself." The first shock came a month later, a lawsuit. Her parents had filed it, accusing her of withholding family property. The irony almost made her laugh. She was served at her workplace, a design firm where she had just earned a major promotion. Her colleagues stared as she accepted the envelope. That night, she sat at her dining table and read the claims. She had supposedly promised to give Daniel the house once it was renovated. Each lie was typed neatly in legal language. She stared at the final line. Family property to be reclaimed in good faith. Her fingers clenched. They really want war. When Zainab read the lawsuit, she smiled faintly. Perfect, she said. They've handed us their weakness. She crafted a counterclaim that was brutal in its honesty. Inheritance theft, tax evasion, false representation, and attempted property seizure. We won't just defend, she said. We'll expose everything. Amara nodded silently, her pulse steady. That night, she opened her phone to a flood of family messages. Her aunt wrote, "How could you disgrace your parents?" Her uncle added, "Handle this privately. Family matters don't go to court." Amara typed one calm response. They stole 85 million Nigerian nairas. The evidence is public. Check the court filings. 2 weeks later, Zainab called. Your parents invited half the family for a peace meeting. They plan to pressure you to withdraw. Amara agreed to go, but not alone. She arrived at the family estate in Ikeja with Zainab and Kelechi beside her. Inside, her parents sat flanked by relatives, their faces painted with performative sorrow. Amara, her mother began, tears glistening. We're so hurt. Why drag us to court? Amara remained standing. You had 15 years to tell the truth. You chose lies instead. Her father's expression hardened. We built everything you have, he shouted. You owe this family loyalty. Amara's laughter was bitter. Loyalty, she echoed. You forged documents and called it love. Her brother shifted uneasily beside their father. You don't understand, he muttered. I needed that money. Needed, she shot back. You mean stole. You and Mom and Dad took what Grandma left for me and called it family business. The tension thickened until you could feel it hum in the air. You will regret this, her father hissed. Maybe, Amara said, but you'll answer for what you did. Kelechi laid a folder on the table. Bank records, he said simply. Funds diverted from the trust into accounts under Mr. and Mrs. Okafor's names, and several linked to their son. Gasps spread around the table. Cousins exchanged glances. Uncles muttered. Vanessa, pale and shaken, stood. Daniel, you told me that money came from your tech startup. Silence followed. Daniel's face flushed red. It did, he stammered. The startup was funded, Kelechi said, by Amara's inheritance. The room exploded in murmurs. Amara stayed still, her heartbeat calm for the first time in weeks. Her mother's voice cracked. We don't have it anymore, she whispered. It's gone. Zainab leaned forward. Then sell assets. Take loans. Because the alternative is prison, federal for tax fraud, state for theft. Her tone was cool and sharp. You have 72 hours. The room was frozen. Amara turned toward the door, her head high. She could feel the eyes of every relative following her, some angry, others ashamed. Her brother's fiancé brushed past him and left in silence. Amara didn't look back. Within 2 days, the tone of her parents' lawyer changed. They wanted negotiation. Zainab agreed to settle only if they repaid the full 85 million Nigerian nairas with interest, filed amended tax returns, and signed a court order forbidding further contact. It was ruthless, but fair. They'll hate me forever, Amara said softly. Zainab replied, they already did. They just hid it behind good manners. Amara signed. It was over. The victory was quiet, but it thundered in her chest. Weeks later, the Federal Inland Revenue Service began its audit. Every lie her parents had told the government was now public. Their once grand estate went up for sale to cover fines and penalties. Amara watched the notice online without emotion. They built that house with stolen money, she told Kelechi. Let them sell it to pay their debt. Daniel moved back in with them after Vanessa broke the engagement. The family's image, polished for decades, crumbled in the span of months. The newspapers eventually caught wind of the scandal. The headline read, Architect sues parents for inheritance fraud. Reporters called Amara's office, but she declined interviews. She wasn't seeking fame. She wanted peace. Still, whispers followed her in Lagos society circles, admiration mixed with scandal. Some relatives sent apologies, Others pretended not to know her. She accepted both with the same calm detachment. The truth had cost her family, but it had bought her freedom. 6 months later, Amara received a call from an elderly man named Chief Lawson, her grandmother's former lawyer. "My dear," he said warmly, "I found something in old records, a separate account your parents didn't know about." He met her in person at a quiet cafe and handed her a sealed envelope. Inside was a handwritten note in Grandma Oluchi's script. "For Amara. They may take what is visible, but not what is meant for you." Alongside the letter was documentation for a 20 million Nigerian naira savings bond that had quietly matured over the years. Tears stung her eyes as she read. Her grandmother had anticipated everything. "She knew," Amara whispered. "She must have." The bond's value covered the remainder of her renovation loans, with enough left to start the small design studio she had always dreamed of. She used it to open ANO Designs, named for herself and Oluchi. The sign above the glass door gleamed in the sun. It wasn't just a business. It was proof that resilience could build more than betrayal could destroy. Amara's studio quickly gained attention. Clients admired not only her designs, but her calm presence. "You're patient with every detail," one investor remarked. She smiled faintly. "I learned patience from rebuilding things that were meant to break." Every tile, every wall she designed became symbolic, small acts of reclaiming control. Her team of young designers adored her, unaware that their boss had once been told she was worthless. In quiet moments, she looked out her studio window and whispered, "I built this from ashes." Her parents' lives had changed entirely. They now lived in a modest flat in Surulere. Their social circle evaporated. Daniel's new business failed within a year. Rumors swirled that he'd tried moving abroad but couldn't secure clearance due to pending tax reviews. Amara didn't gloat. She simply stopped caring. She'd once wanted their apology. Now she wanted silence. "Sometimes peace," she told Zainab, "is knowing they can't reach you anymore." Her lawyer smiled. "Then you've already won." Her relatives remained divided. Some blamed her for airing dirty laundry. Others quietly admired her strength. Her cousin Tola messaged one night, "I wish I'd had your courage. They took my mother's land years ago." Amara replied simply, "It's never too late to demand the truth." That message sparked something. A year later, Tola began her own legal process to reclaim her property. For the first time, Amara realized her story had become more than survival. It was inspiration. On the first anniversary of the court settlement, Amara invited her closest friends and cousins to dinner in her restored home. The table was filled with laughter, pepper soup, and the sound of glasses clinking. "To new beginnings," Kelechi toasted. "And to justice that doesn't need revenge." Everyone laughed. Amara smiled softly. "And to Grandma Oluchi," she added, "who knew the truth before any of us did." The moment felt like sunlight breaking after a storm. Late that night, when everyone had gone, Amara sat by the window. Outside, the garden she had built was alive with moonlight, flowers swaying gently in the breeze. She thought of the girl she used to be, quiet, obedient, eager to please. That girl had died the moment she learned the truth. What remained was a woman who understood that blood ties mean little without respect. She whispered into the night, "You didn't destroy me. You freed me." Months turned into years. Her studio expanded, employing young graduates eager to learn. Amara mentored them with patience and compassion. "Design is about rebuilding," she often said. "Even broken things can become beautiful again." The words carried more meaning than her students knew. Her projects appeared in magazines, her name synonymous with elegance and integrity. But what mattered most was the quiet satisfaction of building something honestly, from her own strength. One rainy afternoon, she received a letter through courier. It was from her father. Inside was a simple note. "We lost everything. I'm sorry." There was no address, no return name, just that single line. Amara folded the paper neatly and placed it in her grandmother's old journal. She didn't cry. Forgiveness, she'd learned, wasn't about erasing the past. It was about no longer letting it own you. "Goodbye, Papa, she murmured, closing the journal. By her 37th birthday, Amara had achieved more peace than wealth could ever buy. Her home stood strong, every wall a symbol of her perseverance. Friends often visited and joked, "You turned betrayal into an art form." She laughed but didn't correct them. Her garden bloomed year-round, the greenhouse glowing like a lantern at dusk. This, she thought, is what freedom looks like. When the National Design Council recognized her studio with an award for transformative architecture, Amara dedicated it to her grandmother. On stage, under bright lights, she said, "The strongest structures are built by those who refuse to collapse." The applause was thunderous. Somewhere deep inside, she imagined Grandma Oluchi smiling. Every beam, every design, every success, it all began with that night of broken glass. Years later, Daniel sent one last message. "I'm sorry. I wish things had been different." Amara read it, stared at the blinking cursor, and then deleted the message. There was nothing left to say. Some chapters didn't deserve an ending, only closure. She turned off her phone and returned to her drafting table, pencil moving across paper in sure, graceful lines. The press sometimes revisited her story, calling it the woman who sued her parents and built an empire. She ignored the sensationalism. For her, it had never been about revenge. It had been about reclaiming identity. She had learned that strength wasn't about shouting. It was about standing still when everyone expects you to break. Every feature written about her ended with the same photo, Amara standing outside her house, sunlight falling across her face, peace written in her eyes. 10 years after the party that started it all, Amara walked through the garden, her hands brushing against the flowers. She looked at the house she'd saved, painted white, warm, full of laughter. Friends' children ran across the yard. Life had moved on, and she was grateful. "They thought they buried me," she whispered, "but I was the seed." The words felt right, final, complete. Now, at 40, Amara Okafor lives a quiet life surrounded by beauty she created. The house that once symbolized loss has become a monument to resilience. The people who betrayed her live in shadows of their own making. And Amara? She lives honestly, with nothing left to hide and nothing left to fear. Her story isn't about revenge. It's about rebirth. The woman who lost everything discovered that peace, built brick by brick, is the greatest inheritance of all. If you value stories of respect, dignity, and justice, please subscribe. It means more than you know, and it lets me keep sharing the lessons life has carved into me.